What's up, everybody? Ben Grove here with a little bit of a cube retrospective. I've been getting some comments asking if I was ever going to talk about like some past eras of Pokemon cards and how they relate to cube. So we're going to start off with the Sun and Moon era today. So if you're hopping into this video and you've never heard about cube before, cube is just basically a custom draft format that a lot of Pokemon TCG players love because it's just a format to hang out with your friends, draft a deck and build it and make creative combinations of cards that like maybe never existed in a standard format together. And that's really what I love about it, is just some camaraderie and creativity. If you're looking for some inspiration for yourself for making some cubes or maybe a cube to play, check out cubekoga.net. It's an awesome website. It's got tons of great resources there. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to go through the Sun and Moon era set by set and basically pick out what card from each set of the Sun and Moon era is the most impactful to cube. And I'm going to kind of put a real priority on cards that were new and like exclude reprints or like spiritual reprints from it. So like, for example, there's a reprint of Magcargo from Deoxys with the smooth over ability. Obviously, that's a really powerful effect in cube and very common. Lots of cubes have it in there, but I'm not even going to mention it today because that effect was originally from Gen 3 era cube stuff. So we're looking at stuff from Sun and Moon that changed the game. So starting off first with the Sun and Moon set, here's just a couple of cards that like are maybe like honorable mentions in here. Lily is one of the best turn one supporters. The Decidueye is like a really common and powerful attacker in a high-powered cube, and the Oranguru and the Herdier here are just like some really good, flavorful consistency Pokemon from the set, especially in like a mutant context. But my favorite overall is Professor Kukui. And yes, I know already I'm breaking my what I said of like I'm not considering like reprints because Kukui is basically just Buck's training, and we'll get into that though. So Kukui is you draw 2 cards, and during this turn your Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to your opponent's active. And yes, that is just Buck's training with 10 more damage. But the 10 more damage is really, really big. I hate Buck's training in Cube. I think the 10 damage, oftentimes, it just is basically nothing. But 20 damage, now that's a ton. And so that's why I like this card. It's just a really flexible and powerful option for like if you're playing an aggressive deck that just wants to start swinging really early. It's better than cards like Giovanni's Scheme, where you have to pick, do I want the consistency or do I want the power? Where Giovanni's Scheme, you have to choose between. Professor Kukui, yeah, you'll get a couple cards, which 2 cards is not great, but you'll also do 20 more damage, and it's really cool. I like Kukui too because it can fit in, like the 20 damage is reasonable. You can play it in cubes that go as far back as like a Gen 4 power era. It's really, really good in those eras. But it can work its way through like Gen 6 and Gen 7 as well. Buck's training, I'm only playing that in my cube if my cube is like Gen 2, Gen 3 era. And even then, I don't like Buck's training. But Professor Kukui, awesome card. It's in my personal cube. And it's the one that changed the game from the Sun and Moon set. Moving on to the next set, Guardians Rising. And Guardians Rising, you can see I put a lot of cards up here as honorable mention material. There's some really great consistency cards. Alolan Sandslash is fun. Tapu Lele is a great standard card, but it's also great in cube because there's a lot of things that are like balanced about it, even though it's very high powered. I also like this set because the Victory Bell and the Honchkrow here are like, they fit in well with like other cards of the same line that go back as like Gen 4, Gen 5. So the Guardians Rising set had Pokemon of varying different power levels and just like some really impactful cards. But the top dog here is Alolan Vulpix by a country mile. Alolan Vulpix is awesome. The beacon attack, search your deck for up to 2 Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. The really great thing that makes this card stand out is the fact that it attacks for no energy. And I think this is something that's been starting to be really recognized in the cube space. The no energy is really, really important, because if you're using it turn 1, it means you don't have to start with it in the active. It means you can, if you have a nest ball in hand, you can nest ball for it, get the Alolan Vulpix, attach, retreat out of the guy you started with, and still be able to use Beacon on your first turn. And other Pokemon that have like a similar searching effect, like if you've got a Call for Family attacker that you have to pay a cost for, you have to attach an energy, and you don't start it, it's just basically dead. And this Alolan Vulpix, you can get cards that evolve. It's just a complete house. And like on top of it all, it also evolves into Alolan Ninetales GX, which is like a really, really strong, like high power Gen 7, Gen 8 era card that is just, there are multiple Alolan Ninetales GXs that are really, really good. So if you have a really high powered cube, it also just evolves into something cool. But Alolan Vulpix fits into any cube, basically any level, and it's an absolute house. Next up is Burning Shadows, and we got some more niche applications here. Acerola is really great. It's honestly Acerola. Some cube builders have started to like cut back on Acerola because of how powerful it is. Getting all the cards back into hand is really, really impactful and annoying. Like if you compare it to AZ, where the cards that are attached get discarded. Weakness policy, I'm putting it here really as an honorable mention, because it's not a super strong card, but it's a great card to have in a cube, because if you build a fire deck that's all completely monotype fire, and you know somebody at the table has drafted a water deck, it's easy to spend the 1 slot and just like have insurance against that. Burning Shadows also has two nice support Pokemon, with Seviper with supporting poison archetypes, and this Ribombee, it's an effect that, yes, we've seen it before. I think it's cool because it's flavorful on a fairy type, where you can search your deck for 2 basic energy cards. Very similar to the Oricorio actually in the other set, but in Guardians Rising, but the Oricorio is just an on play, and this is an every turn. But the top dog here is Bodybuilding Dumbbells, a card that gives the stage 1 it's attached to plus 40 HP, which, depending on your power level, it can be. Plus 40 is massive. And the reason this is a great card in Cube is because it's a power play card for stage 1 decks. And basically, it just lets your stage 1 say, hey, I'm as big as a stage 2. And normally when you have stage 1s and stage 2s in your cube, the trade-off is stage 1s, they're a little bit smaller, they don't hit as hard, they don't have as cool and impactful as abilities, but they get into play a turn faster, and they're a little bit more aggressive. And stage 2s, they're bigger, they're beefier, they hit harder, they have more impactful abilities, but it's harder to get them into play. So the bodybuilding dumbbells just basically says, hey, no, I'm just as big as you guys, and I'm just as durable. Here's a couple of my favorites to pair bodybuilding dumbbells with. Number 1 is Donphan Prime, and I mean, you can. This card will just buff Donphan up to basically, essentially effective 180 HP with its Pokebody. Absolutely crazy. Donphan Prime is one of my favorite cards of all time. Or this Raticate from, I think it's from Arceus, but it's just got an attack that synergizes with having a Pokemon tool attached, and it's a really small stage 1. It's 70 HP, but if you're doing 1 energy, 60 damage, and you have 110 HP, that's actually like that can take a hit. So it's some really cool synergy. I like bodybuilding dumbbells, and you'll see a lot of the cards in this are cards that make power plays. And throwing down a bodybuilding dumbbells onto your stage 1 and saying, wait, oh, like if my opponent, you were planning like to like take a knockout here. No, I've got 40 more HP. Now you have to find your Windstorm, or you have to find a little bit extra damage and reach more on your turn. Like, it is a way that like the status quo will shift in a game. So an awesome card for Cube. Next up is Crimson Invasion, and this set is kind of cool because there's a lot of like comeback cards that are in it. We got Counter Catcher, Counter Energy. Lusamine is a card that a lot of decks that play Lusamine are decks that are playing from behind. Gladion is a perennial Cube card because you want that kind of insurance that it provides, where you look into your prize cards and get the card that maybe the one of in your deck that you really need that's in there. So it's great insurance. It's great to have in every Cube. This Sylvally GX is just a really strong, high-powered Cube attacker and support guy, because it also gives your basic Pokemon no retreat cost. So it's just an all-around all-star. It's in one of my favorite cubes that it's in is the Gen VII All-Stars cube. Really cool cube based around GX era stuff, and it's an absolute like pick 1 or 2 or 3 maybe in your pack in that cube. It's a really great one. But my pick is Counter Catcher. And yes, again, I'm kind of like breaking I'm not bringing up cards that are spiritual reprints. Yes, this is very similar to POW Hand Extension from, I think it's from Team Rocket Returns. I'm betting it's probably one of those sets. But Counter Catcher, you can only play it if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. It's a standard legal card right now, so many people are probably very familiar with it, but this was the first time it came out. And I like this card because it's important to enable comeback in your cube. And having cards like this in your cube is important to the Pokemon trading card game, because the prize system otherwise just encourages snowball. Whoever gets the first knockout, the snowball is rolling down the mountain and they will run things over, unless you have cards like this, unless you have Counter Catcher, Counter Energy, and those cards that can provide the comeback potential. They're really important to Cube. So yes, I mentioned it's very similar to POW Hand Extension, but the reason I like Counter Catcher is because it is not as strong as POW Hand Extension. POW Hand Extension, in addition to the Counter Catcher effect, it also has the option where you can move an energy from your opponent's active to somewhere on your bench, their bench, and that effect is it can be equally debilitating, where first thing you do is trap something there, and then second thing you do is like completely strip it of the energy as your opponent like tries to desperately turn attached to retreat it out. So POW Hand Extension can be really brutal, and some cubes this is just not right for. So Counter Catcher is really cool that there's a medium there that kind of balances things out. I also really like it to pair if your cube is a cube that can support the really controlling nitty-gritty archetype like that. It's really great with a card like Marley's Request. Marley's Request, you look in your discard pile for 2 different trainer cards, and your opponent picks one. Now, that's not always that great, but if you're giving your opponent a choice between Counter Catcher or POW Hand Extension, because it has to be 2 different ones, Counter Catcher and POW, they're basically the same thing, but they've got 2 different names, so it works out for that. And that's a really cool thing that I think control decks in Cube can do, is present your opponent with this non-choice. So Counter Catcher is my pick from Crimson Invasion. Next up is Ultra Prism, and sorry for all the Cynthia stands out there. I am a Professor Oak's New Theory stan, so Cynthia is not my pick from this set. It's a great card, and there are a couple other like type-specific supporters in here that are great too. Gardenia, heal 80 from a Pokemon that has a Grass Energy attached. It's not really type-specific because a lot of Rainbow Energy decks will play this as well. Volkner, also not very type specific, because you can just play a Lightning Energy in your deck. And actually, my IRL cube has the house rule of, if you're playing Volkner in your deck and you only have 1 Lightning Energy in your deck, you get to use a gold Lightning Energy that I have specifically for that purpose in my cube box. Glaceon is just a really powerful lockdown piece. for high-powered cubes with EV lines. And Super Boost Energy, it's a niche card. I've seen it. The cube that I've seen it in is the EX slower cube. Fantastic cube that has been around for ages. That can it's a slow enough cube that you can support having multiple stage 2s in play. It's a cool card when it works, but it doesn't always work. My pick is a skateboard from this set. And a skateboard, for those who played during that standard era, they already know which card is going to be paired with it. A skateboard provides your active with 1 less retreat, and it can retreat even if it's asleep or paralyzed. And Stellar Wish Jirachi is the go-to with it, because the Stellar Wish ability looks at the top 5, picks a trainer, and puts Jirachi to sleep. Very similarly, in Cube, you can not only have just that Stellar Wish Jirachi, but you can have Wishing Star Jirachi from Deoxys, which does the same thing, but it's actually just better, because you just look at the top 5 and pick a card. You don't have to pick a trainer. The reason this card is so great in Cube is because of the draft. And I love when players feel like they get rewarded because they drafted both the Jirachi and they drafted the Escape Board. So it's a fun mini game to put into the draft. And I mean, it's also really impactful and powerful. It basically will give you more Jirachi uses through the mid game. Oftentimes the Jirachi's ability just ends up being a early game ability. As you're setting up your board, you get a couple extra cards while you and your opponent are just trading back and forth, setting things up. It's giving you card advantage there. But if you've attached an Escape Board, after a Pokemon of yours gets knocked out, you promote Jirachi, you get another dig from Wishing Star or Stellar Wish, and then you retreat out of it, and you can, because the Escape Board lets you do it while you're asleep. So it's a really cool card in Cube, and it's really fun to have as part of the draft. So can't recommend Escape Board enough. Next up is Forbidden Light, and there weren't actually that many cards that I considered really awesome in Cube from this set. The Delphox here is actually a Delphox that's used in a lot of really big cubes out there. So Kyle Sukovic's Chaos Cube, this is the Delphox that's in there. It's used in the Blue 3 Cube, which is another famous high power cube. So a really impactful Delphox for all you Delphox enjoyers. Mysterious Treasure it's really cool because Mysterious Treasure is not replicated with other types yet. We've only seen it for searching psychics and dragons. So it's still a unique piece of type support that isn't replicated out there. It's not like they've given it the dark patch treatment yet. But far and away, you knew this one was going to be Malamar. With Psychic Recharge here, once during your turn, you may attach a Psychic Energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. And the thing I love so much about this card in Cube is the fact that it only has 90 HP and it does 60 damage. So you can put it in cubes of any power level, really. And in fact, here, these are the examples of 2 of the attackers that I've powered up in 2 different cubes using Malamar. So Garchomp Sea Level X from is from Supreme Victors, which is a Gen 4 era, and then Necrozma GX, that's Gen 7. And so the amount of damage Dragon Rush from Garchomp Sea is doing 80 for 3, and you have to discard 2. And Necrozma GX is potentially doing 190, right? 60, 66. Yeah, 190 for 3. So, Malamar facilitates the power of both of these without being an outlier by itself. So it can fit in with a lot of different things. So I've played the Garchomp C in Chaos Cube, and then I played the Necrozma in Gen 7 Cube. But 2 very, very different cubes, but the Malamar is the glue that made a deck for me in both of those. So really awesome. Next up is Celestial Storm. There are some pretty interesting ones in here. Both Sceptile and Swampert are powerful attackers. If you've got a really high power level cube, the Swampert also draws cards, so pretty insane. The other cards can like kind of fit into any power level. You do have to watch out for this Delcatty. It can enable some really broken loops with like a card like AZ if that's one of the 2 supporters you're getting back from with Search for Friends. I had a cube of mine basically get torn to shreds by this Delcatty, which I thought was really awesome. It's a really cool card, but you do have to be very careful with it. Tate and Liza is another card that I really just love in Cube because of how flexible it is. When they released Birdkeeper, they did kind of make Tate and Liza feel a little bit worse, but it's still a very cool card. Sky Pillar is an important card to have in your cube if you have a lot of spread damage, because it's just a way to have counterplay to that. So like if your play group is like complaining about, oh, the one spread deck is like debilitating, throw in a couple Sky Pillars, and then so like it's a drafting decision. Am I going to play around the fact that somebody's going to play this really awesome spread deck? Yeah, maybe I'll pick up a Sky Pillar and force them to have the stadium bump. My favorite card from this set is Jirachi Prism. I'm probably a lot more high in this card than other people, but I like it just because it's very similar to the Jirachi Escape Board. It's a really rewarding, your players will feel like, oh my gosh, I've assembled the combo. When it comes off, it really pops off. So Wish Upon a Star, if you drew this Jirachi as a face-down prize card and you have room on your bench, you can bench this and you take an extra prize card, which is insane. And now there are also great ways to enable this in Cube that we can take advantage of. Azelf from Legends Awakened is the one that's in my cube that is the best way to do it, because Azelf can go into your prizes and find a Pokemon and swap a card from your hand. So it just goes directly in. Now you do have to have a Pokemon in your prize cards to do it, so there is a little bit of is it actually going to happen? But it can be pulled off with pretty good regularity, and I've seen that. I've seen it happen a couple times in my cube. Another way is with cards that there are plenty of cards that do this, but cards like Academy at Night and Rotom from Undaunted. Academy at Night, you put a card from your hand on top of your deck, and then Rotom switches the top card of your deck with one of your prizes. There's also a Mr. Mime that does the same thing as the Rotom, but I think the Rotom's a more fun card, and it's a better attacker too. It can be pretty devastating, but it's just one of those things. And one of the reasons I love playing Cube is when cool combos like this go off, and you're rewarded for your drafting and how you built your deck to enable yourself to take an extra prize in this situation. It's a really cool effect, and I want to see it more in cubes. And next up, we've got Lost Thunder, and Lost Thunder had a lot of great cube cards. You've got cards like Meganium and Primarina and Shaman, which are just enablers for different types of decks. Primarina is dumping energy into play. Meganium is like if you're playing I'm playing multiple stage 2s, get all your stage 2s into play. And Shaman healing up grass types. Then you've got a couple attackers that can fit into some power levels that I've seen in multiple cubes. This Bruxish is an insane sniper. And the card bank, it's cool because it's a Gen 7 card that plays pretty fairly in some lower powered cubes. It has 90 HP, doesn't do too much damage. It's just kind of a fair card. Powerful one, but a fair card. And this Zebstrika is an absolute house, 2 for 60, and the potential to discard your hand, draw 4. Really cool card that plays on both sides of the ball, being a pretty good attacker and a strong support piece. And then some of the trainers here. Mina is cool because a lot of cubes don't have fairy types. Fairy types were only around for 2 generations. So if you have a cube that's based around times that we didn't have fairy types, it's just generic acceleration. It might as well say search your deck for a colorless energy. So it's cool because it can fit in with basically any type of deck. Netball and Thunder Mountain are good type-specific support, but Netball is not going to win any awards. It's a good card, but it's not going to win any awards for me. Thunder Mountain might. I mean, it's the effect that it has is very unique. It's the only card that does it, and it's also gated in cube. I like it because you can only have one, and it ain't coming back. So I like those things that you can kind of play around with it. Now, I know a lot of people out there will be like, oh, Ditto Prism is one of the best cube cards. Yes, Ditto Prism is good in cube. It helps you be more consistent. But as I talked about earlier with like bodybuilding dumbbells, I'm looking at this as to like how your cards can have an impact on the game. And most of the time, Ditto Prism, it's just like you just had an extra basic. So my pick from this set is Faba. And Faba is a surprisingly impactful card in cube. You choose a Pokemon tool or special energy card attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon or any stadium and put it in the Lost Zone. And the reason it's so impactful is a lot of times in cube, you have decks that want to reuse things and get multiple uses out of really powerful cards. And Faba is basically the only thing that can say, nah, you're not using that again. You're done. It just shuts it down. So, like, if your opponent has a deck that's built around, like, they have an attacker that's attacking and like discarding Holland's cast forms as their energy that they have to discard for an attack cost, and they have like Clara that's getting it back and it's just putting it back in hand, reattaching it, and hitting you over the head with really powerful attacks. Faba, you Faba it away, it goes to the Lost Zone, it never comes back. If your opponent has a way to like Lusamine and get back Curse Stone, and you're suffering under the fact that my Windstorm, it got rid of Curse Stone the one time, but they just Lusamine and brought it back. I don't know, Faba, it just gets rid of it for good. It's gone. So it has all of the same upside as like a card like Windstorm or Enhanced Tamer does, but it's just got that like little extra bit of just like shutting the door that is awesome. And like there have been plenty of games that I played in cube where like I had my setup, like I've got my scramble energy attached, and I'm like I'm ready to turn the corner and come from behind. Like I've set everything up. Now I have my attacker powered up with my one scramble energy, and then my opponent just plays Faba, and it's like, oh wait, no, like I'm done. Like I've completely crumbled under this Faba because it's gone. No amount of special charge will get it back. I'm done. So that's why I like Faba. Once again, yeah, Ditto Prism, that's a great card, but it doesn't swing matchups. It kind of sits there. That's what it does. Next up is Team Up. And Team Up has a lot of really cool Pokemon, one of which is one of my favorites of all time. It's not getting the pick. This Parsect, which enables Confusion as an archetype, an awesome card. We've seen plenty of Ninetales. There's another Ninetales that does Gust. This one does it if you discard 2 fire energy. Tapu Koko is just an amazing lightning enabler. It does have to be put in really high powered situations. Same thing with this Lycanroc or this Dragonite. They're really powerful cards at what they do, but they have to be in like a high powered cube. Poochyena, I threw this guy in here because it is like the go-to mutant dark type. It's basically just like dark type Alolan Vulpix. Now, yeah, you do have to attach the energy, but it's the same effect. I think it's a really strong and cool card. It's just a Poochyena that's getting work done, which you don't really see that. Airmail Pidgeotto, it's a famous card. It's fine. Its effect is fine. There's a lot better draw engines out there, and that's the reason why then my pick is Viridian Forest. Viridian Forest just does what you want cube cards to do. For Viridian Forest, once during each player's turn, that player may discard a card from their hand, and they search your deck for a basic energy and put it in their hand. it enables multi-type decks. And that's what you want in Cube. You want your players to not have to feel like, oh, I'm going to play the fire deck. And if I see a red card in my pack, I'm going to draft it. No, that's boring. That's not why we play Cube. We play Cube to have a random, not random, but like a good solid mishmash of different colors splashed together, held together by rainbow energy effects, or by cards like Viridian Forest. It especially goes well if you have a cube that's like Gen 3 era based. The Delta Pokemon of that era, like, so if you've got like a Feraligatr, like 4 Feraligatrs in your cube, you might have one that's the lightning one, you might have one that's the water one. And Viridian Forest can kind of help staple those things together. One of my favorite cubes that does this is the Delta Eevee cube. And in the Delta Eevee cube, each one of the different stage 2 lines, which is Sceptile, Typhlosion, Feraligatr, they each have a Delta that goes along with them. And so a card like Viridian Forest or any of the rainbow energies from this cube, or any of the like Holland's Electrode, Castform, Magnetons, are really, really valuable to have in your deck. It's just going to support the fact that your 4-3-4 Feraligatr line just randomly has a lightning guy in it. So awesome card to have in cube. Can't recommend it enough. And it also like has the like counterplay in it where like, yeah, you got to play around like, am I gonna like help my opponent out by playing down this stadium? So really makes some important game decisions and draft decisions. It's just an all-around great card. Moving on next to Unbroken Bonds. Yeah, we'll mention Salazzle with the Roche Reveal, but it's just Ninetales from Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Roche Reveal, discard a fire, draw 3. We've seen that effect before. Welder is an incredibly powerful card. There are some cubes that use Welder to great effect, and then also there are some cubes where I think Welder is too good. It's too good for the environment. It's a worthy card to include in my honorable mentions here, but it's not going to get the pick. Green's Exploration is a very good trainer card, or supporter card, but it's a little finicky to work with in Cube. Because sometimes cubes play around with the fact of like there are Poke powers on older cards and there are abilities on newer cards. So a card like Green's kind of ends up being finicky, even though it's a really impactful card. And for that reason, my pick is Mind Report Mewtwo. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may put a supporter card from your discard pile on top of your deck. So it's just basically like a Versus Seeker type effect on an on-play ability. It's like a slightly underpowered Eldegoss V. But the thing that I think I like most about it is that it has a little bit of flexibility to it where you can play this Mewtwo as like a really powerful attacker if your cube is like Gen 4 or Gen 5 era based. Like 3 for 70 is really, really powerful. But if you have like a Gen 7 or Gen 8 cube or above, this card is just a consistency piece. It's an Eldegoss V that doesn't have the downside of being a 2-prizer. So it's got some value there too. And like in a cube that's a little bit more powered like that, you can like, maybe there's a way that you can loop this effect. Maybe you've got like Scoop Up that you can play Mind Report, scoop it up, then use that ability later. In Kyle Sukovich's Chaos Cube, I think it's really cool because this Mewtwo is the Mewtwo that levels up into Mewtwo level X. And the Giga Burn, I think it does 120 damage. My face is blocking it here. But I don't know. I just thought this was like a really cool, like this was the best Mewtwo you could have had. A Mewtwo that has a cool ability as your Mewtwo that you're leveling up into something that protects from basics and also just like does a ton of damage. Props to Puka because it's a really cool include in how this line came together in that cube. All right, moving on to Unified Minds. The cards I want to shout out here We've got some like niche high power cards. This Dragonite with Hurricane Charge, which accelerates like possibly multiple different energy into play. Very cool. And Evil Admonition Hoopa. If you've got a like high powered cube, this is just like a strong, big basic attacker that you can include, and like most decks will play this like basically at no cost to themselves because it's just a good beater. The Sarina I have here, I really actually haven't seen this card in any cube, but it should be. Let's put Sarina lines in our cube. We can throw in a Radiant Sarina as like maybe make it you have to evolve it. It's a stage 2. This Sarina accelerates grass energy to your active Pokemon. Put Sarina in cubes in 2025. That's what I'm saying here. The Normalium Z, yes, this is a pet card of mine. I love when your random Magnemite that you have in your deck that has Tackle does 200 damage and one-hit KO something. Grimsley is a very impactful card. It's another power play card. Very similar to like an Absol EX where it just moves damage counters around on the board. And it's the kind of card that sets up like you taking multiple knockouts in the same turn. Very cool card. But my pick is Weavile GX. I like this Weavile because it just, for high-powered cubes, like the Gen 7 cube I mentioned earlier, this card just like is a dark type glue. Like it just glues dark type together. Because dark in a high-powered setting has a lot of interesting acceleration options. You can have something like Janine's Secret Art or Dark Patch powering up your dark type attackers, or even there's a Darkrai GX that if it comes back from the discard pile and you can attach something like that. Don't quote me on what exactly it does, but I know it accelerates dark energy. This card can just be a glue to your dark types. Now, yes, it is a GX, like a 200 HP, it's 3 for 130, so it has to be in the very highest of high-powered cubes. But it's just a really good facilitator, and I haven't seen it be used with Janine's Secret Art yet, but I think it's a perfect card with that. Janine's Secret Art, it has the downside of if you've attached the energy to your active, it's now poisoned. Well, if you've got this Weavile in play, you're never going to attach it to your active. So I think those cards have a really cool synergy with each other. I'm excited to see them in some cubes together. But yeah, this Weavile, it just enables, there are a lot of dark types from the Gen 7 era, like a lot of Guzzlords out there that just like have a real high energy cost with it and do a really crazy attack. And when you pair these ways to power things up with the ability to move this energy all around the board, maybe you throw in like a Moonlight Stadium so you can freely retreat as well. Well, not freely. I think Moonlight only reduces by 2. Don't quote me on that. I'm not looking at it right now. But like a way to reduce retreat costs so you can move your guys around. It's really the thing that holds these archetypes together. So Weavile GX, great card. All right, and moving on to the last set here, Cosmic Eclipse. And there are a lot of great supporters in this set. Lily's Full Force, gotta shout it out. It's a Cube legend. I think, especially on the Cube Discord that I'm a part in, Lily's Full Force is a little mimetic in its status as a cool cube card, but draw 4 cards, and then the downside of like, yeah, I've got to tuck some cards back if my hand is too big at the end of my turn. There are plenty of cards that like you would play in your cube deck that counteract this, whether it's like an Octillery or a Barrel that are just like gonna draw you cards back up. So Lily's Full Force, it's like you can play around its downside really, really well in cube. Rosa is just a really strong come from behind card in cube, especially because it's the kind of card that like most of the time you end up using Rosa. I feel like you end up getting, okay, I'm going to get the Pokemon that I'm going to evolve into and the rare candy that's going to let me evolve from basic to stage 2. But that's an important thing to do in a lot of cube decks. So Rosa's a lot of times just like helps keep the stage 2 decks churning and moving along. Goose Hala is really, really strong. You can get so many different things that are gonna set up your attacker. Maybe you've got a Donphan Prime and you are gonna Goose Hala search for a bodybuilding dumbbells, a strong energy, and I don't know what stadium, but just something to just like really power things up. And then there are some great Pokemon in here too. This Silvally GX is like equally with the other Silvally GX I mentioned earlier in high-powered cube, is like mutant or traditional. This is like your quintessential draw engine, and it does great damage with this attack. 2 for 120. You can't beat that with a stick. That's really good rate. This Sawsbuck is number one. It's a cool Sawsbuck card. Which, how many of those are there? Basically this one. It's very similar to the Alolan Sandslash I mentioned earlier. It's just it's a cool card, and like if you've got singleton lines, just throwing in a 1/1 Sawsbuck in your cube is kind of really cool. And this Stoutland here with Arf Arf Bark, which discards energy when it evolves and when it dies. That it's just a really unique thing that you. It's pretty unique. That kind of ability is pretty unique to it, and it's often used. The blue 3 cube is an example where it's like a really one of the most famous lines from that cube. But I think the most impactful cube card from Cosmic Eclipse is Cynthia Caitlin. One of the original like draw 3 plus do another effect cards. You put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand, and when you play this card, you can discard another card from your hand if you do draw 3 cards. It's got 2 great effects, and you don't actually have to put a supporter card from your discard pile to get the draw effect. So it's kind of flexible. And in cube, you can see it doing basically one of 2 things. Number one, you can see it being degenerate, and while yes, the card is fixed to say you can't choose Cynthia and Caitlin or a card you discarded, you can choose to get Lusamine back, and then Lusamine, with playing Lusamine, then you can get Cynthia and Caitlin back, and you can see the loop because Lusamine gets back 2 things, so you're getting back Cynthia and Caitlin plus something else. So yes, you can see how this can be like, there are degenerate decks that can be formed from this. Some play groups don't like this. The Discord group that I play with do not like this effect, and they actually make it a rule that you can't do this. I personally think it's fine. If you're able to build your deck in a way that's gonna demonstrate this loop, I think that's perfectly fine. But it is a mileage may vary on this one. Some people like it, some people don't. But the more fair way and the more common way that you see Cynthia and Caitlin is just getting back your power supporter cards, whether it's something like Blacksmith or Pokemon Center Lady or Clara. Or I mean, it can also just get back consistency supporters. But the way that you're gonna really swing games is by okay, I get another use out of Blacksmith. I get to power my attacker up out of the blue again. And Cynthia and Caitlin is not only do you get to draw 3 cards, but which is an okay effect on its own, but then you get the effect of using your best card in your deck again, which can be really, really game winning. So that's why I like Cynthia and Caitlin. If I'm playing a deck that has a lot of powerful supporters, I will prioritize this in the draft because it just makes you feel really secure. Like maybe you've got your Blacksmith in a hand it's a dead hand, except for you've got to research, and you got to research away your best supporter in your deck. Well, but if I got a Cynthia and Caitlin I can get it back with later, I sleep easy at night. So really important card in the cube space, and frankly, I don't care if it's used in the evil way or the nice way. I just think it should be in your cube. All right, I know I've expressed at least one controversial opinion in here by saying that Faba is a much more impactful card than Ditto Prism. But what else do you guys think? Did I get it right? What cards did I miss here? I'm sure I missed something because I was in this. I was talking about like what are the most impactful cards in each set, but in each one of these Sun and Moon sets, there are great cards that no matter what your power level of your cube is, there are cards that can be really important attackers in the lines in your cube. So lots to love about Sun and Moon cards in cube. Hope you enjoyed. Fight with me in the comments about Faba versus Ditto Prism, and I'll see you guys next time.